I want to say a few things just to kick it off. And one is congratulations, you made it. We're here. We're all here, right? So good job, everyone. Whether you drove it, pushed it, pulled it, towed it, or came in on some other brand or a bicycle or whatever else, you made it to where we are right now. And I want to just acknowledge the commitment of time and money that each of us have made this week to be here amongst friends and to learn about one of our favorite hobbies, which is the GMC Motorhome. So where is here? Well, we're at the Timber Ridge RV Resort here in Traverse City, Michigan. I can tell you that some of the greatest and smartest GMCers that you'll ever meet are here this weekend. There's a real collection of knowledge here. In fact, Traverse City, Michigan is basically the center of the universe for the GMC knowledge and the GMC world for this beautiful first week of September. So that's very exciting to be at the center of the GMC universe right now. And the people that are here, I'm going to check something on my computer real quick. The information that you'll find here this week as you meet people here that do presentations and people here that don't do presentations, these are not computers, these are not LLMs and not chat GPTs and anything else. These are living, breathing people that you will become friends with and that you will get to know better and that you will make lifetime friendships. Today is September 3rd, 2025. I find myself with friends and family with campfires and beautiful pine trees here in Michigan. Today is a new and wonderful day for me, and there will never be another day like today. This will never exist again, but we will have future places and future things we will see, and I hope we carry those friendships and knowledge forward. So good morning. I want to talk a little bit about first-timers. I know some of you have never seen my presentation before. How many people here are a first-timer at a GMCMI convention? Wow, all right. Thank you, first-timers. Thank you very much. I love it. You are essential to this community. In fact, who here has ever been a first-timer to a GMCMI convention ever? All right, well, that's the rest of the group. We were all where you're sitting today at our first convention, and hopefully, you find yourself full of excitement and energy for what we're going to see. The first timers are future leaders and future class presenters and future carriers of the knowledge. I was a little kid when these came out, but I've gained knowledge from people that were there, and I gain knowledge to this day from the people at this convention. Hopefully each of you will take things away from this meeting and this week that you will carry forward to the next generation. I'd like to recognize J.R. Slayton, who's here this week. J.R., how many conventions have you been to? 62 conventions. 62 conventions, J.R. So we have all the way from the first time to 62 conventions. And J.R. hasn't just attended conventions, he's participated. He's been involved with the setup and the management. He's been involved in every level of these conventions. And we invite each of you to participate in these as well. I'd like to talk about Wayne. Is Wayne here this morning? Let me know how to pronounce your last name. Watches, just like it looks. Wayne Watches is doing a class this week. Wayne was a first-time GMC attendee about 4 months ago in Waynesville, North Carolina, correct? And a new GMC owner. How long have you owned your GMC? Since April of 2025. Wayne's doing a class this week. And let me tell you a little bit about, if you've been to other conventions, you know, I go to the BMW motorcycle convention. The classes there are, there's a guy that sells tires and he does a tire class. And there's a guy that sells helmets and he does a helmet class. And there's someone who sells special gloves for riding in cold weather and they do a glove class. And all you hear about is from people who have something to pitch, you know, a book you need to buy or some, you know, holster for your pistol. All of those things are classes at the classes at this convention are people that own GMCs and that want to share knowledge with you about things that they've learned about it. And that's just fantastic. This has got to be one of the best convention setups for technical knowledge at this GMC convention. So anyway, thank you first-timers for being here, and we hope you have a wonderful week, and we hope you get questions answered and you make new friends. I am going to talk about some of the wonderful additional tech sessions this week. It's on the agenda, but I want everyone to know about it. Tom Katzenberger, who, like many of us, got into the GMCs, I think, because they looked interesting. They were things that you could tinker with, things that, you know, that I always say GMCs appeal to engineers and pilots, and people get interested in these things. Tom's doing a class on electromagnetic locks and fuse block upgrades, so there's a couple of good things that we need to know about. Randy Van Winkle is doing his fuel injection class, and you know, many you may be familiar with people who have converted their motorhomes to fuel injection. If you'd like to know more about that, Randy's truly one of the experts in the United States in converting big block and small block American cars from the 70s to run in fuel injection. Merle Carpenter today is going to do a class on failed parts. It's a fascinating class. He brings parts that he hands around and shows you things that can go wrong, things that he has seen in his career as an Oldsmobile mechanic. Tomorrow, Jim Kanemata is doing a class on Onan generators. And most of us here have an Onan generator, whether or not it runs. We haul the 400 pounds of steel and cast iron around under our coaches. I'll be doing a class tomorrow on bogies, bearings, and brakes, which are 3 critical things that we need to roll down the highway. Friday, Wayne Watchus is doing electrical basics, and thrilled to have Wayne as a first-time presenter here. I'll be doing a co-pilot seminar in a different location. There may be those of you here, or you may have a co-pilot that rides with you that has technical questions, and you just as soon toss them over my way and let me figure out how to explain that. And I love to do that, so I'm looking forward to that. Matt Haggerty, who's done AC upgrades class for us in North Carolina, is continuing that class, and we hope to find some new things that is Matt here right now? Hope to find some new things that Matt has discovered since North Carolina. And then Saturday, Eric Schultz is doing our solar lithium batteries and inverters. And that's something that's a lot of interest to me, and I'm sure many of you. And it's going to be very exciting to see what Eric has found and what, you know, what paths he has pioneered that he can share with us in our GMCs. A great investment, I mean, just a great week of tech sessions that I'm going to learn so much from this, and really makes the investment of time to get here worth it. If we have questions as we go, feel free to raise your hand, and we will bring you a microphone. We're preserving this information in these tech sessions for the future, and so we want to get your voice on the microphone so that we can answer your questions. In my basics class, you know, what I want to talk today is just some things that I have learned. I was not born with any knowledge. I have learned all of this from someone. And I have always learned best by learning directly from someone. I didn't have YouTube in my time growing up, but I do have it now. And I enjoy YouTube, but nothing is quite as good for me as sitting down with someone who knows carburetors and having them explain to me how to take a carburetor apart and put it back together. We'll talk about some problem areas, or some areas that you should be thinking about when you want to keep your GMC on the road. I want to talk a little bit about do-it-yourself versus hiring someone. These vehicles aren't terribly complicated. There is a large knowledge pool it takes to work on them, but if you do the research, you can do many, many things yourself. And when you do them yourself, you will almost certainly exceed the quality of someone that you can hire. That's just an unfortunate, that's just the state of the world. Now, there are GMC specialists that you can go to, like Cinnabar, like Applied GMC, like Serum. But very often you'll find the very best mechanic that you can get to work on your motorhome is yourself and a buddy. And we hope that you try that and be happy with the results. I brought along some things that I use in my shop, just some kind of basic stuff that I want to talk about. Where to find support. On the issue of where to find support, GMCMI is one GMC Motorhome Club. There are many more. What are some of the other regional clubs that we have represented here today? The Great Lakers. We've got Western States. We've got several here from Western States. The Dixielanders. There must be a dozen clubs across the country. If you haven't found your local club, please inquire here about who your local club is, because nothing beats a GMC buddy who lives 20 miles away or 100 miles away that's willing to come over and get with you and help you tackle one of these projects. The value of a mentor, I think each of us can probably identify a time in our lives where we had a mentor that just taught us so many things, whatever the topic was, whether it was your grandmother teaching you how to make cinnamon rolls, or whether it was a cranky old mechanic, who yelled at me every afternoon, but then bought me dinner and made up for it. And that was mine, that was my experience. But I learned from all of them, and I hope that I transfer that knowledge to as many as I can, and I hope to continue learning from them. And I'd always want to mention the value of one good opinion versus a lot of mediocre ones. If you find someone at this event this week that you trust their thoughts and their ideas, and I'll just take as an example Dave Lindsay, who is a master in braking systems for the GMC, but also Dave Lindsay is just a master of GMC knowledge. If you ask Dave Lindsay a question and he gives you an answer, write it down in your book, and you can probably just let it be. You don't need to ask anyone else at this convention. The opposite of that is when people post a question on Facebook and they get 20 answers. And I can tell you, if John Hesslinga or John Lebetsky, I can tell you who else posts on the Facebook page. When you have some of the experts that are repeatedly post on there, but very often the names on there are people that don't even own a GMC, and they just say, well, I have a Chevy, and this is how you do it on a Chevy. And that is not, that's many opinions, and you'll have to sift through and find the good one. And in the end, if you know someone that's good, just send them an email or call them. That's who you want to talk to. We have a goal of preventing on-the-road breakdowns. And even coming here this weekend, there's been a few people that broke down and made it, and there's a few people that broke down and aren't here yet, and there's a few people that broke down and won't make it this weekend. And that's disappointing. It's also disappointing if you're taking family members or your kids or your grandkids or you have a broke down. For me, I never want to have an over-the-road breakdown, and so I prioritize what's under the motorhome versus what's inside my motorhome. And I finally sprung this year for a new set of day-night shades from Gary and Terry Coaster. It's probably the most money I've ever spent on the interior of my motorhome because it all went down low. But I attend these conventions with my mom and dad. We have wonderful experiences together here, and they were tired of those janky old blinds that didn't work anymore, so I had to throw some money at it. But anyway, if we had all the money in the world, we probably wouldn't be driving GMCs anyway, and this is what makes it fun. This is what brings us together. So just to talk here for a second, just as a reminder for why we do this, why are we drawn to the GMC? And I like to take answers from the audience. Why are you drawn to a GMC motorhome? And I'll repeat whatever you say, so just holler at me. What? It's sexy. All right, very good. It looks good. It what? Appearances, the design, lots of windows in it. It looks great, Todd. It's the right size. Now, excuse me, but I thought in America the right size was 14 feet tall, 45 feet long, and with slide outs on the left side and the right side. Not everybody wants that, but that's about all you can buy these days. And I appreciate the value of slide outs, and I appreciate that in America you can buy any kind of motorhome that suits your needs. And what a wonderful thing that there is a motorhome that was made in the 1970s that still suits our needs. Yes, Lori. The ride is so smooth. It's a beautiful ride. It was designed well from the factory. A lot of thought went into that system with those two rear tires, and no drive shaft running down the floor. It sits low to the ground. The GMC is hands down the lowest sitting RV in the world that I've ever seen. I mean, when we were in North Carolina, I saw a fifth wheel travel trailer next to us that had 6 or 7 steps to go up into the side of that thing. And it was not a solid 6 or 7. It was kind of a janky 6 or 7 steps. And I thought, well, I can just step into my GMC. And when I'm really tired, I'll flop out that Ragusa step and then make 2 steps out of it. But nothing can ever sit as low as the GMC because of that drivetrain.
I was following Alex in his 45-foot new, and we went across these railroad tracks. They were pretty rough. And he said, JR said, watch the tracks are rough. And I said, what tracks?
We're all drawn to the GMC for different reasons. We share those reasons. And apparently a lot of other people see those reasons because, as we all know, every time you stop at a gas station or a restaurant, you get cornered by someone that wants to know what this is. I remember being at Yellowstone and the GMC, and a German couple was stopping their Cruise America, their rented RV at Yellowstone, and he got on and he said, what kind of futuristic motorhome are you driving? And I said, well, it was one that was made in 1977. Why are these still on the road? What's keeping these motorhomes on the road? Why did they last?
Great engineering.
Quality. Fiberglass and aluminum.
Yeah, they don't have wood.
Fiberglass and aluminum. Boy, you look at stuff that's made nowadays, and it's not to the same standard. It's not made to last as long. Great engineering, someone said. We talk about. I talk a little about survivorship bias. You think, well, boy, they really knew how to make things back then. Well, most motorhomes that were made in the 1970s, most motorhomes and travel trailers are long gone. We just happened to have these because they lasted, because they were well designed from the factory. And in some ways, the American car industry is not known for its amazing engineering in the 1970s, and yet we have an amazing example of great engineering from the 1970s. They had a great engine and transmission. They were made out of aluminum. We have a wonderful support system for them, and have had since the beginning. The Great Lakers, was that the first GMC regional club? What year was it founded?
Next year will be
50 years in 2026, so 1976. Starting with the Great Lakers and continuing to this day, regional clubs, and the GMCMI was founded in 1982. with one of the fundamental tenets of the organization as being supporting GMC owners. Yes, Jim. You want a microphone?
Well, you know, General Motors started this club organization. That's why you see those flags
The Great Lakers.
started there, and General Motors paid for someone to go across the country. That's why we have one of, we have the 49ers, and then we also have the other one down Southern California, all over, and they all have that emblem. Similar emblems, but each one's a little bit different. So, you know, as we say, they had a lot of foresight when they did this coach, other than, you know, they didn't want to just sit in the parking lot. They wanted them to use it on weekends and stuff.
General Motors really went after this, and they really threw a lot of money at it. And it's unfortunate that it was introduced kind of on the eve of the you know, the oil embargo and the transition of the 1970s involving interest rates and other things. But they really threw the engineering behind it, and that's why we're all sitting in this room today. And General Motors saw the need for regional clubs for support, and they initiated that and supported that from the beginning. So, you know, we serve here, we're here today kind of as a product of all of the things, of all the ground that was laid in the 1970s. And that is a big part of why they are still on the road. You know, I'd point out that there are many people in the country that own vintage cars or cars that were made in the 1970s. There are people in this room that own cars made in the 1970s. But very few people own cars that made in the 1970s that they drive 1,000 or 2,000 or several thousand miles a year, or even a few hundred. You know, the most classic cars in the United States, you can drive them to the Sonic and, you know, pull in and get a burger and a shake and drive them home. But we are actually driving these things and living in them and crossing the country. So that's amazing. So to continue on here, you know, the aluminum and the sheet molding compound, the kind of what you could call the fiberglass parts, the lower parts, just never rusted away. Amazing single stage paint jobs. How many people here still have the original paint job on their coach? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you can make those things look pretty good. They don't have a clear coat on them, but they look wonderful without their clear coat when they're restored. I have some opinions about cleaning a single stage paint, and if you want to corner me sometime this week and come to my coach, I'll show you some of the products I use, because I don't ever want to do anything abrasive on that paint. I want to preserve that paint forever. We definitely have 50-year-old motorhomes outlasting newer things. They were powered by a time-tested V8 engine and a 3-speed transmission, which is such an antiquated thing nowadays. But by golly, it worked well then, and impressively, it works well to this day. It is difficult to improve the V8 engine and the 3-speed transmission. And I just want to caution anyone here who ever gets the brother-in-law who, you know, does Chevy hot rods and says, oh, well, you know, we can do this. Believe me, we can do it. We can do it in a weekend. The GMC is front-wheel drive. It sits at a certain angle. You sit on top of the engine. The engine can't be too tall. It's front-wheel drive. The engine can't go too low. There are all kinds of complications, and I just encourage you and ask anyone here, if you've ever been tried to talk into changing the engine in your GMC, just ignore that advice. And that's more advice you'll get on Facebook. It's hard enough to put an engine in it, much less the one that fits. And I do just want to say, and I'm not accusing anyone here of trying to change their engine, but I do want to just say a couple other things on this, things I think about while I'm driving. The number of people in this country that can swap an engine in a car to a different kind is thousands. The mechanics, and you know, you find them on YouTube and things. The number of people that have that understand and could think about how to do that in a GMC is a very small number, or less than 100. But the number of people who have done it, the number of people who have done a powertrain change in a GMC. Probably never do it again. I can tell you from the audience, I can think of some, but name for me the people who have done it successfully. Dave Lindsay, Manny Travau in California of Diesels, Jim Bounds, Buskirk, Van Buskirk.
People who put a transfer box, so you use the regular transmission, and then drive line to the front, and then use the front drive line off of the.
Okay. So Buskirk, Hal St. Clair, he did it for himself. Okay, who else? What? He did it, and he did it for himself, right? He did it. He did a one-time diesel conversion, and then started working on a new way to do it. He seems endless in his. But the thing is, Dave Lindsay has a kit that you can buy and do it. But so we're up to 4 people. Do we have any more to add to the list?
500 Cadillac conversion.
Now the 500 Cadillac, which Larry has done, and that's a completely. That is a legitimate way to change an engine because you use the same front wheel drive system. The 500 Cadillac, with some work, goes in there, and so I think that's kind of switching one thing for another in the same era. And props to the people that have done it, because I'm not saying it's easy, but it is doable. But of the 4 people we've listed, we've got a diesel, we've got a Manny's diesel, we got Dave Lindsay with his modern 8.0 liter Chevy engine. We've got a couple other things. JR?
I've got Dave's kid, he built it for me, and I've got pictures after the meeting here, if anybody wants to see what the installation looks like.
So JR has Dave, he got Dave's kit for the 8-liter engine. It's 8.1, and JR has the pictures to see them, which you should take advantage this week of just looking at that, so that if you ever had another GMC buddy that says they're going to do an engine swap, and you can say, well, actually, I saw the pictures of JR's, and I saw Dave Lindsay's kit that he spent a long time developing, and if you think you're going to go out and do that in the next 2 years, you're probably not being realistic with yourself. So I'm still at 4 people. Did we have one more to add to the list? Okay, let's just say that there's one that I can't think of, but 5 people that we can name that have done a successful engine change in a GMC motorhome. Just let that alone be, for me, that's what settles the issue for me. I'm not going to ask any further, because if I only know 5 people that have ever done it, I'm not going to try to be the 6th. Yes, Jim?
We've got probably done about 6 Cadillac installations, because I've had one on mine, very successful. It's a 500 fully fuel injected, and twin turbos. And everybody says, oh, you da 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 da. I tell you, I get just as good gas mileage out of my turbo as anyone else.
So what Jim's saying is that there is, if you ever really want to get wild about an engine change, you can go to the Cadillac 500, which was made at the same time as the Oldsmobile engine. And the Cadillac engine was a wonderful engine. And you may find yourself someday you've got a bad engine, or you need an engine swap, and you don't want to get that one rebuilt, and you may want to look at the engine choices. And the engine choices, if you want to change in the GMC, are basically limited to the Cadillac 500, and that's it. And if you want to go anywhere else on that, talk to one of these people that's done it, or don't do it at all. So anyway, yeah, Jim.
I discourage people from going to I discourage people from going to a Cadillac. It's going to hurt my sales, but I'm going to tell you something. If you need a water pump in Colorado or Nebraska, you're going to have to wait a couple of days to get one for a Cadillac. For an Oldsmobile, you should have it the same day or the next day. It's all about popularity, people. So you can put anything in there you want. Now, going with the 8.1 is a good thing because it's a crate engine that General Motor makes, and they have an unreal warranty. We put some in our cargo van, and my old guys overheated it, and guess what? Took it down there. They asked me, "Are you AS certified?" And I said, "I am." He says, "Good." They fix it. They don't even charge me a penny for the antifreeze or anything. And that's the thing. And you say, why does a car engine from the factory like that last? We don't even break it in. We don't even hardly prime the pump. It's because the stones that they use to polish that thing, they said it's unaffordable for regular machine shops. And that's what makes a difference. Put your hand on sandpaper and push. I don't care how great the sandpaper is, it's going to stop. That's what happens with a brand new engine. Okay? And I'll tell you, that's the problem.
Can someone tell me what time this class ends or what time the next class starts? 10:30 is the next class? So we'll end this one at 10:15. Okay, great. Okay. Well, and speaking of, you make a comment about stay cool with Matt Haggerty, and I am going to make a suggestion. Sometimes we have these machines because we want to tackle a challenge and we're really, really gunning for something. If you're really chomping at the bit or someone's really prodding you to do an engine swap and go through all the, I'm going to suggest that in order to quell that deal and get your mind focused on something, you might want to think about redesigning, studying the air conditioning system and redesigning the dash air from scratch. If you really want to do something from scratch, before I would change the engine and transmission and before I would put electric motors and batteries in my motorhome, I would just start with the air conditioning system, because many people have tried, and there's a lot of different, there are simple bite-off-the-shelf improvements all the way to what Matt Haggerty is going to show me, where Matt just says, I'm just going to start with a clean sheet and just say, if I took everything out and put everything in new, what would that be? That is enough, that'll use enough brain power to keep you occupied for a long time. And I dare say that maybe in the end, if you get a good air conditioner, the results might be even better than having an engine swap in your GMC. Certainly in Oklahoma, the air conditioning is more valuable than how much torque you have. But there's a lot of room for debate on the internets and thoughts and things about how to do air conditioning. And that's why I love that Matt Haggerty is doing his class this week. Jim Kanemata sells air conditioning systems from Vintage Air and from other vendors where he puts the packages together, already has the right hoses and things. But you know, per my recollection, no car in the 1970s had good air conditioning, and many had none at all when it was still optional. So there's a lot of room for air conditioning stuff. And part of the reason some of us have these is to give us a puzzle to work on and give us something to think about. And that's fine. Just not on the engine and transmission. So we are now the stewards. How many people here are the original owner of your GMC? Okay, all right. So that means that your GMC came from a previous person. Maybe they took great care of it when you got it. Maybe you had it towed to your place and started from scratch. But it was handed to you, and now, hopefully, you've driven it here today, which means it's still running, and it's probably in better shape now than the day you got it, because you probably wouldn't be here otherwise. We are the stewards, and I commend everyone for being a steward of a GMC. I hope that when you pass it on to the next generation, that it's in even better shape than when you received it. How long can these things last? Indefinitely. As long as you can get some parts and gasoline, and you know, when the B-52 aircraft were introduced by the Air Force in what, 1950, the early 50s or something? I mean, that was probably good for about 10 years, and you know, here we are, and the lifespan is going through 2050. They've found a way to keep those things in the air. And occasionally you find a vehicle that's that way, and lucky for us, it was the GMC. The talk a little about the reliability. I said a little bit of this earlier, but any vehicle can break down at any time, especially new ones. And YouTube is littered with stories of people that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a travel trailer or a motorhome and immediately encountered issues. You know, you can tell a lot about the quality of like a travel trailer or something by opening and closing the door. The door on the GMCs is a very reliable door. And, you know, it opens and closes after 50 years. You can put new hinges in it. Sometimes they have some welds break and you can get those things fixed. But that door is a well-made door. And if you go to the RV sales lot and you go and just open and close the doors, and they'll tell you everything you need to know about what's in the rest of that motorhome. Those doors are very often absolute junk. There's no better time, I think, in history to be a vintage motorhome enthusiast because of the clubs and the websites, and because of YouTube, and because of the service manuals and things. We can get parts now. Now, you know, in the past, it was easy to go a lot of places and get parts, but we can still get parts for these things. And sometimes when parts are no longer made, we have people that invest money to get new parts manufactured and get 100 of them or 500 of them made so that we can use them, which means it's even easier to get some of those parts now than it was 20 years ago. We can achieve these trips and the camping and the parades and everything when we take maintenance in our own hands. This is one of my repeat slides. I try to change this presentation up, but I do want to put this out. A gut and run owner, and we see the internet and Facebook littered with these, where people buy this thing and they have it towed home, and then the first thing is they rip everything out of the inside of it and throw it away. And I think this, I mean, I understand why people do it. They think that they either have enough time or enough knowledge to both rebuild the interior and to rebuild it better than it was designed. And you know, if somebody wants to buy an old school bus and do that, I think that's great. But the GMC Motorhome, as it turns out, it was pretty well designed to fit in its space. They had some well-paid engineers working on that. And very often the people that gut these things, then the part two is they run, because after about a year they are ready to sell it, and it's already gutted, ready for your ideas inside, which means they already threw everything away. Yes.
Drill no holes in them.
No what?
Don't drill any holes in them.
You were drilling a hole in the body the other day and ended up hitting a pretty large electrical cable that connects the back of the coach to the front, and then you let all the smoke out of that cable. And anyway, that was kind of a surprising deal.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to make it here.
Yeah, well, you know, you could have burned the thing down. And it is a good reminder to be very careful when we're working with electricity and gasoline. Safety is a big part of your shop, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go along. Propane. The best results come from using top quality parts, GMC vendors, and good mechanics. And I should add to this, and the right tools. And I want to give you permission, when you work on your own motorhome, instead of paying $120 an hour at the RV shop, I give you permission to buy nice tools for yourself and your motorhome. And you take care of them, and you will pass those on to someone else in your life, or a future GMC owner that will appreciate those tools as well. Every hour that I do my own work on my motorhome instead of paying someone else, I figure I got a little money in my pocket to go buy some nice tools for that. Our motorhomes reward the hands-on owner/mechanic by achieving better reliability, and the goal is that they become more reliable over time, so that when you're done with it, It's in even better shape than it was when you got it. It's even better shape than it was today. It's a continuing path upward. We have to learn the knowledge and pass it on. And I would expect and hope that every coach that's at this convention today outlives whoever the current owner is and is carried on to the next generation. I certainly intend that for my coach that I have here, and then the 5 parts coaches that I have back in Oklahoma. By participating in regional clubs, rallies, and conventions, you are sustaining the knowledge base for future generations. You might even be teaching that knowledge for future generations. Now, having said that, let's talk about our vendors and specialists and suppliers. GMC RV Parts, Applied GMC, Jim Kanemata, Jim and Grace Kanemata, who have owned a GMC for as long as I've been doing this, 1980, very, very early owners. And they have all the parts. Serum Vintage GMC, Jeff Serum in Florida. Of course, Kanemata's in California, Serum's in Florida, Cinnabar Engineering in Sandusky, Michigan, not far from here. How many people go to Cinnabar or take their coach to Cinnabar or buy parts from Cinnabar? Yeah. We have these regional specialists that know so much about the GMC and can get us all kinds of parts. You've got, if you have an original GMC interior and you've got the door latch for the closet in the bathroom, and it's that little latch and the knob comes unscrewed and then it falls on the floor and it's got the, if you want that latch and don't want to just have to go buy a new latch and screw it, if you want that latch, there's people that can get you that original latch. And that's very valuable. They're absolutely worth the support. Dave Lindsay is a vendor that's here today that makes incredible parts. You know, Dave was I think a tool and die machinist as a career, and has a fascinating career in the American automotive. Has a fascinating career story about his involvement in the American automotive world. And he makes a good campfire, and he has a nice place to sit and visit with he and Mary. And I encourage you to stop by and visit them. Are there other vendors here today that I haven't yet encountered? Well, Mike Sadlin I saw earlier. So Mike Sadlin is here representing Jeff Serum, who's down running the store. And Mike Sadlin, not only does Serum have an amazing set of parts and parts coaches, but Mike Sadlin separately makes fiberglass parts for the GMC that you can buy through Jeff Serum. And I've learned all kinds of things from Mike Sadlin, but those things on the left and right of the front seats that are always all busted out, those are called door cards, and they're made out of plastic, and you can't touch them, but they break. But you can take those door cards out and buy brand new ones and put them in. All the pieces of the dash, that overhead piece, which you've ever, there's probably not a person here that doesn't have at least one little crack in that overhead piece. If you ever have to take it out, it'll probably be a goner. In the back of the motorhome, the left and right side vertical pieces that cover between the windows, I think there's the speakers are mounted in them. Those things, all of those things are made, Mike Sadlin has made molds from our original pieces. Yes, Betty?
Well, I'm going to say Paul Smith is here, Paul Smith is here. He's from right here in Traverse City, and they're camped across from us. He's a vendor also.
Paul Smith is here, and I always, I don't know if Paul has his big motorhome here? Okay. Well, one of the things I talk about, and these jacks here, you know, the GMC Motorhome is a rather troublesome thing to jack up because it sits so low to the ground. That what makes it nice, but it also makes it difficult to lift. If you carry a trailer like I do, you can throw a floor jack in that thing, and that's real convenient. But most of us shouldn't be just hauling an entire floor jack around. This jack right here, I have never found an equivalent at Harbor Freight or anywhere else, but this is a jack from a Ford F-350 series truck. And it is a two-stage jack, and it goes very high compared to a single-stage jack. And then this piece right here is a piece, and if you go to my bogies and brakes and bearings class, this piece hooks underneath right between the two rear tires, and then this jack fits in there because it won't go underneath a GMC. It's too tall. Even this is too tall to go under and jack up the GMC. With flat tires. Especially, yeah, with flat tires, yes. Nothing sits quite so low as a GMC with a flat tire. But this will elevate that thing. And the reason I bring all this up is because there are a lot of salvage yards. You probably passed a lot on the way here, and if you stopped at every one of them and went inside and tried to find this jack, you might find one on the way home. But my experience with Paul Smith is that if you just walk over to his coach, he's got them for sale. And that is a much better investment of my time, I can tell you right now, is just to buy one from Paul. So do stop by his motorhome and see what all goodies he's bought. Yes, Jim?
We have another, that's the original, but we have another one that the gentleman gave a copy to. We call it, two-way or something, I can't remember. But it's in our catalog, and it's on our website that allows you to use it in the back as well as in the front.
So this isn't the only design for this. The only reason this exists at all, ever, is that some GMCer a long time ago said General Motors included, originally they included one of those crazy single leg jacks that you put up and they're I think they're just illegal now. They just were dangerous. They could tip over and they could break, and they just weren't, in my experience, they weren't worth using. And a short piece of chain, a real ridiculous setup. And somebody said, I can do better. And created a pattern for something that you could put in there and do that. Well, then later on, someone else said, well, you know what, I think I can do even better than that. And I have one of Jim's, a jack adapter. And the thing is, not only does the one that I got from Jim fit underneath the bogies, it also hooks up on the front, and you can elevate it on the front as well. So I strongly encourage you. One of my things, if you leave here today with ideas, and one of them is that you should have the tools to change your own flat tires. And with luck, you will never use them on the road, because tires today are extremely reliable. And I remember a story about my granddad where, they'd go out and he bought a new 55 Ford Crown Victoria or something, and he'd have a flat tire every few days. And then one morning he went to go to work, and he had 4 flat tires in one morning. And I have never had a flat tire on my GMC, in the last 50,000 miles of driving. Yeah, I got to get home. But by golly, I'm prepared for it as much as I can be, because I have a dedicated tool with the right size socket. And by the way, if you ever build a tool like this, make sure you have the socket for your tires, and make sure you have a socket for your spare, because there's a tiny chance they might be 2 different sizes. And then you're going to wish you had that socket when you try to get the spare off. And you need a longer bar than this, but you can put something on this. But one of the things I talk about, and I don't bring every tool I have my trailer here, but I'm going to pass this around the room. I'll just pass this around the room and let everyone look at it. This, if we just pass that around, but that's a very heavy duty tool, and you can buy lighter duty versions of that. But I can tell you it from experience, as can anyone here, that it takes a lot of hand power to break the bolts on that tires. Yes, JR?
Don Roberts designed that. He's a GM engineer and Great Laker, one of the original Great Lakers. He designed the hook.
Okay, Don Roberts.
Don Roberts.
with it, Don with a D.
D.
Yeah, Don Roberts, who worked for General Motors,
Right.
and he designed this
He designed
original.
He also designed the lift kit to raise your airbags up and soften the ride. He did that too.
Okay. The bag extenders, and
And
Well-
one more thing, don't forget my hoses and all from classic coaches.
that's right. Thank you, Jr. Because I don't want to leave anyone out. The if I let me see if I have that slide on here. There are some. If I can jump straight to it, I will, and I'm not going to spend. So, one of the unique things about the General Motors, the GMC Motorhome, is that down at the oil filter, there is a little deal that runs two hoses. One goes to the radiator where the water, the coolant is, and then one comes back in. And that cools the engine oil. Now, this is a fairly common thing in modern cars. If you have a 3/4 ton truck or even a half-ton truck with a tow package, it may have an engine cooler in it. But back in the 1970s, this was a really, really nice upgrade for our motorhomes. It cools that engine oil down, and our engines, they have a pretty tough job. That coach can weigh 12,000 pounds when you get it all loaded up, and they cool that engine oil. Those hoses will not last forever. They were never intended to last forever. And JR sells replacement steel braided hoses for the engine oil, for the engine cooling system, for the engine oil. And you can buy them. They already have the right fittings on the end. You don't have to go down to the hose supply store and figure out if they're, SAE or JIC fittings, or what number they are, if they're number 4s or number 3. None of that. You can literally, not only do you could call JR, but you could literally, after this class, walk over to JR and get a set of these hoses ordered for yourself. And you'll find this week there are many people who do they make 1 or 2 or 3 little things that are so important to your life. JR, what besides the oil cooler hoses? Oh, the handle.
I didn't understand what you said.
What besides the oil cooling hoses? What else do you sell?
I have the rotary valves for the early model suspension.
So
And also the pretty handles the ladies like.
That's
got
right.
The GMC Motorhome.
That's right. The lighted handle that goes on the exterior door. Now, I'm of the opinion that every GMC should have a handle on that exterior door to prevent tumbles. They're so low to the ground, we don't need handrails like every other travel trailer in the country. You got to have handrails to go back. So at the very least, do yourself a favor before you need it, and get a handle for that thing. Jim Connemata sells Ragusa handles. JR sells illuminated handles that
Jim sells my handles.
Jim
too.
sell the vendors sell those JR's.
He also
right.
supplies the hoses and the valves.
And those handles, they look nice on the side of the GMC, and JR knows how to source those things and make them look good. And then the other thing is the rotary valves. If you have a 72 if you have a 73 or 74 GMC with the original air leveling system,
73 to early 77s.
okay, all the way up to electro level 1. That's right. So many people in this room, and to adjust the airbags, you've got those brass valves. You would raise and lower and all of that. That's a part that won't last forever. And if you ever need to get into those, that's a very unique part for the GMC motor. You're not going to wander into O'Reilly and buy those, I can assure you. So don't need to. JR's here. You can visit with him about it this week, and you can order those from one of the vendors and solve that problem. Yes, sir. What campsite are JR at? Okay. He's living the luxury life, but he still blesses us with his presence, and so he'll be. Okay, in the car. So if you see JR, visit with him and just do yourself the favor of looking both at his photos of his engine swap and at the parts that he sells. If you look at those and hold them and understand what he has done there, you very inclined probably to take some of those things home with you. Hey, Tom. And also set up on Jim Connemata's display here. Yeah, Tom.
Ty, I wanted to say something about breakdowns on the road. Don't forget, nowadays we have Uber. Look at your mile marker. Say mile marker, blah, 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 95 north. I need, you order your part from your parts store, whether it be Advanced Auto, whatever. They sometimes can set you up with an Uber to bring the part to you. So instead of needing the towed all the time, you can Uber your part, or, you know, there's not only Uber, I'm just throwing that out there, but you can call them up and have that part delivered to the roadside. And also don't forget to set up a pin. You can drop a pin. So if you don't know the mile marker or you're out in the middle of nowhere, you can drop a pin, say, can you have it, or who delivers your parts? And they have all kinds of stuff, even a meal. So you can have a meal delivered. So that's it.
That's good advice. That's good advice, Tom. I'll mention the GMCMotorhome.org. If you want to get on the internet and ask questions about GMC stuff, that's the first place I would go before I'd go to Facebook, because that is a very, very good website. In fact, it's very likely you will not have to ask a question because you will be able to search for it and find it. And if there's anything I can't do reliably on Facebook, it is to search past questions and find them. And it's absolutely frustrating to me, and I just won't use it. That's my result. I will go to Christo's GMC Motorhome forum, and I will find the answers to my questions. And I'll find some answers to some questions I didn't even know I had yet. All right. Yes, Ken.
Most of us with the GMC, well, okay, I sold mine a number of years ago, but still had to. Couldn't work on it anymore. I sold the job. Anyway, but the things, anything that you're thinking about doing or has broke, hasn't, whatever, somebody already has had that problem. The resolution to the problem is out there. Just make sure you pick the right resolution that makes sense.
Every problem on a GMC motorhome has been solved. It's a solved problem. You do not have to pioneer the solutions. The hardest part of your job is just going to be to find the right answer. And with sources like the GMC Motorhome Forum and your regional clubs and things, you'll be able to find those answers. You just don't have to invent anything from scratch on a GMC. The blacklist as well, and I didn't have it on my deal because I didn't find it. But Janet Leslie is doing a class on the blacklist this week, correct? Yes. I went through the schedule and didn't see it, but the blacklist on Friday. I encourage you to see Janet's class on the blacklist. I encourage you to join the blacklist and put your name on it, even if you can offer nothing more than transportation or some hot coffee and a sandwich. It's just nice to look at it, and if you ever want to use it, put your name on it too. I did want to go through just a few things of things I would recommend focusing on, and this is a list that will change over time. But some of the easier things I would encourage you to look at if you're trying to get started on working on your own thing, on your own motorhome. There's a lot of places to grease the GMC, and I have a slide about that we won't look at, but there's a lot of places you need to put grease. GMCs can have hopefully they'll have at least one fuel filter. They may have 2 or even 3. Change your fuel filters at home before you go on a trip. That's a real easy thing to do. And then take a spare of every fuel filter you have. Most of us don't know what's in our gas tanks and the bottom of our gas tanks. We don't know how much rust is there. And if you've had them out and had them fixed, then you do know. The rest of us have no idea. And in that case, that's where you need the fuel filters. Keep a log of what you do, and if your log doesn't show change in belts, consider changing the belts. If you don't know when they've last been changed and you're new to your ownership, then just change the belts. By the way, when you're changing belts, you will encounter, like, it can be very difficult to tighten those belts up, and there's a little bit of a learning curve. But once again, I give you permission, you know, if you can't seem to figure it out, either ask someone how they do it, or think of what tool that would really make that easy, and then just go to Harbor Freight or get on Amazon or somewhere and try and find a tool that looks about like that. This is not a belt tensioning tool, except when it's in my motorhome, and then it's a belt tensioning tool, okay? But it's what I use, and it works well for me. Because you need those tools. Change your engine coolant. If you have no idea when your engine coolant was last changed, just change it when you get home. It's not that hard, and it's something you can do, and you can cross that off the list. You can change your own engine oil. Okay, am I over at 10 or at 10:15, Mike?
Tom starts at 10:15.
All right. Excuse me. So let me just check real quick. I'm going to run through a few tools that I find useful or interesting, and I just want you to know about them. One of them is my belt tensioning tool. I have a set of wrenches here that have a ratchet in the end of them. These are very convenient. I just go to these as my first wrench, and it makes it easy to take bolts off in difficult places.
If you get that set of wrenches, try and get the ones with the little levers so you can reverse
So you can
it.
reverse them.
Because you can get to a point, you're gonna ratchet, and you go, oh,
Yep.
shoot, I can't go any further and I can't back it up.
Can you
You're screwed.
Can you?
If you have, you pay a little more for it, but
That's
it's
right.
got little levers, so only go reverse.
This wrench will not reverse. It only goes in one direction. So I take it off and can flip it over and go the other direction. But what Ken is talking about is some of them just have a little switch on them. Ken's a career mechanic. You can tell. I have here extra upper and lower radiator hose for the cooling system. Very difficult to replace on the road. Very much more easy to replace in your shop when you're not on a trip. Knee pads. You can repurpose an old pillow, or you can go buy a knee pad. But whatever you do, make it easy on yourself. Don't make it hard on yourself. You're the mechanic. Make it as nice as you want it to be. Just a few other things. I have headlamps. Headlamps are so nice for working in the engine bay of a GMC. Or working underneath, and you can just get all kinds of headlamps for, you know, almost nothing. The most expensive headlamp you could ever buy might cost $50, and everything else is less than that. A voltmeter. Here's a $50 one and a $3 one from Harbor Freight. If you don't know how to use a voltmeter, carry it anyway. Because if you ever have a problem, you can call someone and they'll say, get that voltmeter out, do this, and tell me what it says over the phone. This is a tool you have to have even if you don't know how to use it. It's someone else can help you use it over the phone.
That little tool will measure direct current. If you've got an electrical problem that just is screwy and driving you nuts and you can't figure it out, while you're checking that 12-volt circuit, take that meter and flip it to alternating current. Because the alternator puts out alternating current. And if the diode package in that thing goes haywire, it can put in alternating current. And it'll screw up all kinds of things and drive you nuts trying to figure it out.
Now let me simplify what Ken just said. If you have an electrical problem and this box, you can call someone like Ken, and that person will go through that whole process that he just went through, and you didn't have to learn it, but you can't do it if you don't have this. I'm so excited for this week. Yeah, just phone it. I'm so excited for this week. I'm so excited for our next class coming up. We've got just a beautiful, beautiful place at the center of the GMC Motorhome universe right now. Thank you all very much.